Hello everyone, welcome to this channel. Today we're going to discuss why modern day marriages are destructive for men. Marriage used to be something beautiful that was done out of pure love or at least mutual necessity. But in this current day and age it has become nothing more than a contract, scaring men away from committing to women because it can be the reason for their destruction. Many women wonder why men these days do not settle, while men wonder how it comes that we live in such times where women sleep around without any accountability. Well, the exact reason for that is the destruction of conventional marriages. It has become a contract now. If a woman manages to get in on this contract, she can feel safe to leave whenever she wants. But the thing is that marriage has absolutely no benefit to the male sex. The only thing it does is tying him down with a major financial knife on his neck. For this reason, we can see that modern males have an extremely hard time to start a family. No young man in his right mind wants to destroy his future prospects on wealth by making rash decisions and just marrying. Everything he worked for his whole life could be taken away from him in an instant if she eventually decides to leave him. Before we start off with drawing our conclusions, let's first take a look at some key divorce statistics. 50% of marriages in the US end in divorce, with the number one reason being infidelity. The average marriage lasts around 7 to 8 years. Men suffer the most after divorces. Divorce rates are the highest for black people, and 70% of divorces are initiated by women. But for educated women, this rate even sits at 90%, only further proving the claim of the destructive nature of the so-called new strong independent woman. Most women, in most cases, get the custody of the children, and on average, married adults do not report to have become happier after their divorce than being in the unhappy marriage itself. This is an issue that has to be addressed in times filled with feminist views. If there is anything that could be deemed unjust towards men, this is it. Why is the government involved in marriage? What does the government have to do with who someone chooses to live their life with? And why is the institution so biased against men? In a very weird way, the institution even seems to encourage or incentivize women to leave their husbands because of the position of unequal power they have over their partner and the fact that they will financially benefit from it. To just lay out a simple fact for you guys, men are 7 times more likely to become depressed after divorce, while women tend to see it more as a liberation of some sorts. Society is much more sympathetic towards divorced women and frames it in a way that these women shouldn't let themselves be used. But on the other hand, men who feel like they are stuck in a toxic relationship have no way of escaping. They literally have financially and emotionally committed for life. They keep slaving away in the hope that they can keep their car or keep their house and prolong their toxic marriages, only to be hit by reality when the wife eventually decides to leave him after all, spending his money and assets on a new family she will build with another man. Everything he has worked his ass off for is lost, while for the wife it seems that nothing is actually lost and there are no drawbacks. She even comes out of it better than ever before. And this is exactly why marriages are failing these days. It is all because of the huge power imbalance. Usually a good home tends to have a certain power divide. The husband does X while the woman does Y. But as women have become more and more financially independent and feminist, which is not necessarily a bad thing, they now feel like everything should be equal. But in reality, nothing is is equal in life. I'm not advocating for the man to be the boss at home, but rather I want to fight the idea of the independent free woman. No one is truly independent and free. Even more so, marriage is founded upon the idea of mutual love and, more important, interdependence. It does not say you go do whatever you like and I will do whatever I want. According to your partner's personality and needs, there will have to be some sort of role divide. But women don't seem to want that anymore. Instead, they push the narrative of not needing a man or man ain't shit. But let's see what the consequences of that are. Well, from experience, we can see that almost all hardcore feminists end up being a lonely 50-year-old woman with 3 cats. Well, of course, that is a stereotype, but it's actually based on a very real thing. You cannot be independent and completely autonomous while not pushing all men away from you. If you keep that up and recite the holy feminist scriptures by saying men ain't shit or I don't need a man, it will lead to a woman making herself unattractive to potential partners or even outcompeting other men. A true feminist would say that we are living in modern times. What is the problem with a wife outcompeting her husband? Well, there's not necessarily a problem with that, but if the woman, that's only the case if the woman doesn't make a problem out of it. But that is not the case, as studies show that one of the most important reasons for divorces is that the wife starts making more than her husband. Women only tend to mate and marry with men that perform better than them. And thus, the dating pool of the increasingly competitive women starts to get smaller and smaller, leading to top-performing women struggling to find men or leaving the men they are already with, while underperforming men struggle to find a wife. How can this be the case? Is this a problem of insecure men not accepting that their wife makes more? No, that isn't actually it. It is women deciding to leave their husband because they don't need them anymore. They can pay the bills themselves now. And women only, as I just said, tend to marry upwards on an equal basis, but never downwards. So when they start out competing their partners, they tend to lose interest in them and move on to the next partner that makes more money than them. Another study estimates that women now initiate divorce in 70% of cases, like I said, with 75% of women choosing to be alone rather than in an unhappy relationship, compared to 58% of men. And I think that this rate is lower for men because they tend to be locked up in marriages more for all of the financial reasons I just mentioned. There are also huge reasons why men can no longer just dive into marriages as if it is nothing. Current days divorces are organized in a very traditional way, tailoring towards the sad woman's needs, while in reality the time of sad woman has long passed. In these times, it are the men that get ruined. Yet we don't hear anything about this injustice. Feminists would never take on such a topic. For these reasons, I think that men should only take care of the children they make, but not the so-called independent woman out there. If they feel independent, then they should not depend on a monthly payment by a man. The only justified consequence is child support, when a man makes more, of course, but we have yet to see men receive money when they earn less, as most men just do not have to pay anymore. But even child support should have a maximum amount. It has always shocked me, especially for rich men, how so much money gets abused for Gucci bags and the sort. Why does a man with $300 million have to pay $150 million for a wife that leaves him? In what world does she deserve to maintain her so-called lifestyle? The lifestyle was tied to the man, and now that she is gone, she should only get so much that she doesn't fall into poverty. It's outrageous that men who have worked all their lives to achieve their goals get robbed by their partner for simply marrying them. Wouldn't it be much fairer to pay her $1,500, let's say, as anything above that is extra? If we change the society for women, then the duties of men should be abolished with that. We can't have a double-edged sword where women get to be independent, but the men still have to be providers. I hope that in the future this societal injustice will get addressed, as many men can't find a way out of this situation. If you want to save traditional marriages and keep families alive, this simply cannot go on for much longer. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe and like this video, and yeah, I'll catch you next time.